Hey, all you beautiful people out there. Thank you for tuning in to our latest LGBT Outdoors live video. We're glad that you have joined us. I'm Justin, and I'm so thankful that you are here tonight. I know things are chaotic right now, but what better way to try to enjoy some of the outdoors on a Friday evening than to talk about the outdoors with our great guest tonight that we're going to get to in a little bit. Super excited to have Justin here with us. Not to get too confusing, but we got Justin and Justin going on, so sorry guys. But we will make it work, all right? I wanted to just let you know that we really do care about you guys. We're a community here. We're not just a Facebook or an Instagram page where we like to feature other people in the outdoors. We are a community and we are a resource for the LGBTQ plus community to get outdoors and active. And wherever you are at right now, there's a live chat. You can let us know who you are, where you're watching from, say hi. Also, if you have any questions throughout tonight, let us know. Throw those up in the chat, and we will get to those towards the end. Whether they're questions for Justin or Justin, for me or our guest Justin, and we will be glad to answer those for you once we get towards the end of the chat with him, and then anything specifically towards LGBT Outdoors at the very end of our video. So, to continue on, we are not just an IG. We want to show you a little bit about our website that we have because it is a great resource for people. Um, we have several things going on here that can really help the LGBTQ plus people get connected to the outdoors. Once you scroll down a little bit, our blog is automatically going to pop up. We have great resources, any deep sea fishing, canyoneering, off-roading. This is one that my husband did about the volcano in Wyoming, which is really cool. Me and my husband give a shout out to him right now because what's going on right now would not be possible without him. He is the genius behind this live feed and a great asset to the LGBT outdoors community. Um, we also have on here, to go along with our blogs, a directory. It is semi new. It is also in a weird world that we live in right now. So, through the rest of the year, if there are any LGBTQ plus um, companies, you don't have to be owned, just you don't care at all if LGBTQ people come and enjoy your service. Shoot us an email and we're glad to throw you up there for free through the rest of the year. We want to be a resource. And so on here, there's all kinds of services from campgrounds to kayaking to I think there's fly fishing, even deep sea fishing, just all kinds of resources for you guys to be able to use. Um, Also, our events page, we had a number of events that were up here and then coronavirus hit and we had to cancel everything that we had planned and started doing these LGBT outdoor live videos. You can see our next one. Had been doing them on Friday night. We are going to start switching that to Tuesday nights, starting with next week with Andrew Shade, who we're really excited to have on. He was actually on the Amazing Race in way back in 2002. We've got a lot of great stuff that we're going to talk about with him. So super excited. You'll want to tune into that. But for right now, I want to get to our guest tonight. So our guest tonight is Justin Bubenik, a corporate attorney in Denver, Colorado, and the volunteer executive director of the Wild Gathering, which is a nonprofit focused on cultivating community among outdoors enthusiasts around conversation and introducing people to the outdoors. Justin was born and raised outside of Portland, Oregon, where he spent his childhood casting a fly in search of steelhead or taking to the field in pursuit of pheasant or waterfowl. 30 plus years in, and Justin continues to pursue these passions as he concentrates his effort on bringing new outdoor enthusiasts into the fold. From Denver, Colorado, please welcome Justin. Hey,
Excited to be here.
we are excited to have you. I have gotten to know you a little over the last few months or so. I don't think it's been a year yet, but I feel a real great connection with you. And once we started talking about these LGBT outdoor live videos, I knew that you were one that we just had to have on and talk about fly fishing because your passion for fly fishing and the outdoors in general is just so contagious, and I think that you have a lot to offer our viewers. So thank you for taking the time to be here.
Of course, happy to be here.
Let's start off and just share a little bit about who you are, your background, and how really the outdoors became a passion of yours.
Sure. So, I mean, you kind of covered the main basics and kind of mile high view of it, but I was born and raised outside of Portland, Oregon, in Happy Valley, a lovely little town that I still have family back there and a lot of good friends. Grew up pretty much more or less going to the outdoors for an escape. All my family, grandparents, my dad, mom, all of them were big into the outdoors. My grandparents were big into mushrooming and steelhead fishing, and a few
Nice.
my grandfather was all a fly fisherman as well. So I ended up picking that up at a pretty early age. And then as soon as I get my hunter safety card, I was out in the field as well.
Nice. I can relate to that. I got my hunter safety card when I think I was 11 years old, and then started hitting the woods. Um,
I
so
I think we're better off getting it early. Like you have less like brain matter, so you can just get it out of the way quicker. Yeah, less
um,
distraction.
that's true. That's true. My husband got his later in life, but he's kind of a smart guy, so he got his pretty easily. But I am glad that I got mine when I was young and really enjoyed. I grew up on a farm in Missouri, so for me, outdoors has just been the way that it is, and I couldn't imagine another life really. Um, Not to go down a rabbit trail, but as you know, then I moved to Texas, and the whole fishing, hunting, outdoor community is quite different here. And so I'm jealous of where you're at in Denver right now in Colorado. Tell us a little bit more.
Still getting settled.
Yes,
Go ahead.
you are new to Colorado, but I've already seen like so many of your photos and stuff. So it sounds like you're already looking and hitting the good fishing spots. So it didn't take you long to get settled in there, I don't think.
Trying to find my way. I mean, with the whole pandemic and everything, it's been tough. Colorado has
Yeah,
been hit decently hard, but people are taking it somewhat seriously and being careful about traveling around. But I've been very fortunate to have a lot of awesome state parks, local parks, and things like that to get out to and still either
nice.
go for a run or a hike, cast a fly, and even go out hunting still. So I know that there are a lot of people throughout the country that are not as fortunate to have that, but
Yeah.
it's nice to at least get a bit of fresh air.
Yeah, which you just got your spring gobbler, so that's cool. Congrats on that.
I did. I did.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. When it comes to some of your biggest passions, though, I feel like fly fishing is probably, when it comes to the outdoors, that's just like the key thing for you, even though you enjoy a lot of other things. Um, I I guess I have always been kind of oblivious to the fly fishing aspect. I mean, I know that it's there. It seems really complicated, and my mind just is like, what am I doing here? And I know one day you're going to teach me how to do it. But when I remember being a kid and I stumbled across one of my dad's fly fishing rods that I never even seen him use. I don't even know why he had it. But stumbled across it. It was just like, yep, nope, not for me. I don't understand this thing. This is like an alien rod and reel to me. But it's a passion of yours. How did you decide on fly fishing that was for you? And share with us a little bit about how you got into it.
Yeah, of course. So, really, my first experience fly fishing was with my father. Um, I know that he had got the exposure to it from my grandfather before him, but nobody was really hugely passionate about it. We'd take a yearly trip, backpacking trip, up into an area that some people may know. It's in Central Oregon, a gigantic wilderness lake that I will not name, that my family has been going to. My great grandfather used to backpack in there, and I think it used to be close to a 25-mile hike. and he'd spend
Wow.
about like a month in there catching trout. And
Wow.
by the time that I was a kid, it was a 3 mile hike, and I was still complaining. But we'd backpack up there with rafts, and I still remember my first fly fishing experience was really my dad tossing a dry fly line and a little mosquito pattern out the back of our raft and trolling that around and watching all these crazy little brook trout exploding on the fly on the surface. And I thought that seeing that, being able to see the trout take the fly and experience that as opposed to just tossing in a weight and bait, just felt so much more complete to me. And I
Mm.
loved being able to fool a trout with something that was a complete artificial imitation of what they usually eat. So it didn't take long after that that I then got my own fly rod. I learned that there are things other than dry flies that I could fish and catch more trout with. And it kind of all just progressed from there. My dad sent me to a camp when I was around 12 years old. And I think that it was probably about that time that I surpassed him in capability, and he started hating my guts and asked me for tips. So
You
that's how I
gotta.
really started it.
That's gotta make you feel good when something like that happens. um,
Oh, I was a snot as a kid, so my dad hated it, but I loved it. So
that's awesome. We have one question that we're going to go ahead. It's your
that was my
sister.
sister. Yeah, that
Love you,
would be my
bro.
sister.
That is a great shout out. Thank you for watching, Ashley. We appreciate you being here for this. Um, let's talk about some challenges as maybe somebody that is in the part of the LGBTQ plus community. There is a lot of stereotypes. There's a lot of just like outdoors isn't for us. Share some maybe challenges that you have had that you've overcome, ways that you've got around it, maybe um, as an outdoors person that is also a part of the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah, I mean, that's like opening a freaking book. So I feel like I could go on for a good
Right.
hour just about that. But keeping it short, growing up, I was not out of the closet. I was very much trying to more or less present myself as a straight man the whole entire time because I was raised by parents that were absolutely incredible. I love both of them dearly, but I think they've both recognized that they've come a long way as far as LGBT recognition and acceptance. And I think that within my community, a regular term that was still used was fag and things like that, that just made me view LGBT, the gay community, as a negative and something that I should try to avoid and separate myself from. And I think that's really permeated both through fishing, my hunting experiences, and general outdoor experiences by far. I think that I tried to exemplify the masculine as much as possible in everything I did. And at first, I thought that's why I tended to fly fish and try to do more outdoorsy things. And it really took a big soul searching to realize that these are things that I'm passionate about regardless and that I just love and I'd love to do with other people. So it took about until I was 21 to actually come out. And even then, I only came out to friends that I knew would be comfortable with it and family members would be comfortable with it. And I think the one community that I didn't come out to until maybe just last year or even the year before was the fly fishing, hunting, and outdoor community because there's a certain stereotype around outdoor activities, especially hunting and fishing, that I would say that lends attention to white males, especially. And I am a white male, so I fit in perfectly for the most part. But being able to live my truth and actually be myself and be not living in fear of outing myself to people, it took a long time. And it wasn't until just a couple of years ago that I finally felt confident enough through different organizations and nonprofits and friends that I've been talking to that I finally felt comfortable enough to come out to the outdoor community and really put myself out there to try to make it a more welcoming place for people that don't fit in with that ultra masculine bro culture, ultra white, and that kind of thing. Just trying to make it a open playing field for everybody to approach and be welcome.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's a great way to put your story kind of in a nutshell with that. Would you say that the fly fishing community is a community that's a little bit more welcoming than, say, some of the other fishing and hunting, deep sea fishing communities? Or do you think that that's
As
all
long as you
really?
don't kill a trout, they're very welcoming. But if you kill a trout, then like you're off. You're off their good list. No, uh, there. I could go on endlessly about the number of communities that have been so welcoming in the fly fishing community. The
Awesome.
most recent place. So I'm new to Denver. Where I was before this was Southern California, and I became involved in a lot of fly fishing clubs down there, as well as an organization called Backcountry Hunters and Anglers.
Hmm.
And they were nothing but accepting. I was so fearful of coming out, and as soon as I did, as soon as I mentioned that an ex-boyfriend or something like that, they didn't miss a beat. I mean, it was nothing but acceptance and
That's
open
awesome.
arms, and they still saw me for the person that I was, whether that be a complete douchebag or somebody that's just a badass fly fisherman. Being gay and my sexuality did not impact anybody's thoughts on me, from what I could tell. And if it did, for the most part, all my friends were there to say they don't deserve the time of day. So it's difficult because the fly fishing community is definitely limited on the number of non straight or non binary individuals that I would say are integrated in it. But I think that it's a space that's very accepting. And if you can get outside that bro culture, the elitism that can sometimes permeate it, then I think that it's absolutely incredible, and they'll welcome you with open arms.
That's awesome. I also feel like we're living in a time too where, and I'm kind of guilty of this, but where we almost judge people before actually giving them a chance to prove that they are welcoming. Um, so I think that that's something that probably all we all can be working on and realize that times are changing and more people are accepting now than really ever before. So
Yep,
share with us a
definitely.
little
And people are
bit.
making the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Share with you get me down this trail. I think that it's cool because like the more that people feel comfortable with being themselves and coming out, we're seeing more and more and more people come out. I think that it's hard in today's society to not have a family member or a close friend that is a part of the LGBTQ plus community. And once you start really having a face that you can put to it, it can change things a lot. And so I'm excited about the time that we
Absolutely.
live in and where we're going in the future, I think. So it's really good.
Definitely.
You mentioned one organization that you're a part of. Do you have any other groups that you're a part of that you could recommend or that you think are just really great or want to highlight?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, definitely a lot of the fly fishing clubs I was a part of in Southern California have been absolutely incredible. And all that I've heard is nothing but acceptance in similar fly clubs. So, in Southern California, I was a part of Pasadena Casting Club, the Southern Sierra Fly Fishers, and then the overarching organization is called Fly Fishers International. And they actually are more or less the umbrella organization for fly clubs throughout the country. And they absolutely stick to a non-discriminatory policy. So whether or
Awesome.
not the individual members are accepting can be variable, but from my experience, they've been nothing but accepting. And then the other organization that I was the more involved in, I'd say, was Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, which is a national organization which has various chapters throughout the states. And I was the California state chapter chair there, and being able to actually step up to a leadership position as a gay man, and more or less being the voice of a state that our members were staunchly straight male white, um, felt completely empowering. Being able to teach backpacking classes, fly fishing clinics, and have people not even flinch when we started doing like a round table on diversity and talking about experiences in race, religion, sexuality, and things like that. So those kind of
Awesome.
organizations have been incredible, and I'm excited to get involved with those out here in Denver as well.
That's really cool. Uh, One thing we really love to find out from everybody that is joining us as guests is cool experiences, or that maybe even that one just moment that was just a really cool, memorable thing that stuck out to you with the activity you're involved with. So, is there? I know there's a lot of highs in fishing, and so and we all have those stories. And we're kind of, I think fishermen are kind of known for the stories that they tell. But do you have a one memory that you really remember as from fly fishing that really stands out to you?
Sure, and I wish would have guys sent you guys a picture of this one, but definitely my most memorable memory was so I grew up outside of Portland. My home rivers were the Clackamas, Sandy, Deschutes. If anybody's from Oregon or knows those areas, but absolute favorite river would be the Deschutes, and I think my most memorable experience was would be that when I was around 15 or so, we did a float trip on the Deschutes, and I became just a steelhead addict at that time. So, for those of you that don't know, a steelhead is a rainbow trout that goes to the ocean, comes back into the river to spawn, almost like a salmon, more or less. And they are freaking rockets. They're amazing. A lot of people spend years chasing them. And I was out there floating the river with my dad, and it was one of the first evenings, and I tied on a fly that I actually tied myself and quote unquote designed myself. And as I was floating down a run, I hooked a 36-inch steelhead and landed it. And it was my first steelhead that I caught on a swung fly. And I just sat there staring at it and like got into tears as a 15-year-old, just like in awe at the awesomeness of the natural world and of steelhead and of being a weird fish chaser that seemingly could be doing anything else and something way more productive than just mindlessly casting a fly into the river. But I think that's what attracted me more, the mindlessness of it.
Yeah, and those experiences like that that happen at a young age, that's what hooks so many people with different outdoor experiences, whatever it is, going hiking as a kid with your family and watching a sunrise over an incredible valley, or, catching your first fish that just is a memory that really becomes an addiction almost and sticks with you. So that's really cool, especially
Definitely.
when on something you tied your own fly with. And to explain to people a little bit about fly fishing, and I'm going to explain how I see it because I am no expert at it. And correct me if I'm wrong, and then dive into this a little bit deeper for us, so that if anybody wants to ever do it and give it a shot, they kind of know how. Um,
Yeah.
Essentially, for the most part, your bait is a fly, an insect of some sort that the fish are going to be feeding on. That a lot of times fly fishermen like to tie and make themselves. Basically, it's so light though you can't really cast it like a regular lure, and so you have to have enough line out that you cast it back and forth and make the fly land where you want it to. Basically, kind
Yeah,
of.
you more or less got it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the
So
only thing is just like for me, like fly fishing, the reason that I love it is because it's so all encompassing. Like it can literally be a lifestyle, if anything else. I mean, thinking about fly fishing, I'm thinking about hydrology, entomology, so like the science of insects. I'm thinking about biology and how the fish actually operate and how they'll respond to my fly. I'm thinking about fly tying. I'm doing casting competitions. I mean, it's literally can be an all encompassing sport and it can like pretty much touch on any of your little quirks or interests and things like that. There's competitions, there's casting competitions, there's actual fishing competitions and things like that. I mean, so yeah, absolutely all encompassing. The only thing that I'll add is just that a lot of like the misconception I'd say around fly fishing is that it's something you only do for like trout, like river runs through it status. But you can literally fish for any fish in any body of water fly fishing. So I've gone for Dorado, marlin, and things like that down in Mexico off of a boat in the ocean. I fish for carp in the LA River, where it's like literally a concrete impoundment in the middle of LA. I've fished gorgeous high Sierra streams and stuff like that. And you can really shape the experience to exactly what you're looking for. Whether you're looking for companionship, whether you're looking for competition, whether you're looking for just complete relaxation, whether you're looking for a different level of introspection. Like, I mean, that's what really makes fly fishing incredible to me, is just that each time that I go out, it's a different experience and I can reshape that to how I'm feeling in the given day.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And I can remember the first time that I even watched somebody fly fish for sailfish or tarpon, which they're a massive fish, and you're using huge flies that are at that point really replicating small fish or shrimp or stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And was just blown away with the people just going after such a massive fish on, I don't want to say primitive, but a more basic rod and reel setup than your normal heavy duty stuff that you would go after. So I definitely want to
Yeah,
see some photos
definitely.
of that sometime of your marlin that you caught. I think that that'd be awesome.
Oh no, I didn't catch one. Oh hell
Oh,
no,
you
I didn't
didn't?
catch one. So yeah, that's
Oh,
still on my bucket list. That's still on my bucket list.
I
So
thought that you
I
had.
fished for them and I hooked mahi mahi, but
Oh,
yeah, no,
okay.
not on a fly rod. So,
Well, that's still good.
but
At least you caught
yeah,
something.
gotta have something to aim for and shoot for in the future, I guess.
There you go. So let's strip this way down because I know that on our Instagram we've had people that mentioned today they knew that we were doing this with you, and they mentioned that this is something we've talked about. We really don't know how to do it, and are really wanting to get into it. Like break it way down. Obviously, you need to know the regulations in your area, fishing license, all of that. Next step to that, if somebody wants to get involved with fly fishing and they don't know anybody in their area that does it, what advice would you give them? Where can they start at very ground level to start learning?
I mean, absolutely. I'd say the first resource for you would be a local fly shop. They're absolutely always willing to talk to new fly fishers and introduce you to the sport. I had an absolutely awesome experience in Southern California with Orvis and their local shop down there. They hosted introductory fly fishing classes that were free for anybody that signed up, um, almost weekly. So there's a lot of
Wow.
local Orvis shops and different fly fishing shops like that that offer these introductory classes that will be free and will usually run like an afternoon, more or less. Because, I mean, fly fish can be something that's unapproachable for people. They think that it's overly expensive, think that it requires too much equipment. But there's so many different types of fly fishing. There's so many different levels that I think that when I was a kid, maybe I got started out with like a setup that was maybe $100 for like the fly line, rod, reel, and everything. But nowadays they have different techniques like tenkara fly fishing, that different stores like Patagonia will sell full setups for $50, where it's a single rod, a line, and no reel, where it really gets people started at that bare basics and initial level. But I think that almost across the country, Fly Fishers International, they will have an affiliate club within your area that you can reach out to. And then something else I've been really working on with Fly Fishers International is trying to start a nationwide LGBT fly fishing club that's more approachable for people to actually contribute to. And though it may not be in person, we're able to do more virtual things and then do semi-annual or annual gatherings where you can actually go out and get together. So
Well, that's very cool. I think that that kind of thing is really important, and try to get people connected. And I think that it can be very overwhelming. But even for fly fishing, it's very easy to not have to go to a body of water to even get started. Just practicing in your yard, trying to get the cast down, because I feel like that's going to be most of the battle for me when you and I get together and go. I do
The
want to give a
the
quick shout
cast is
out.
miserable.
Yeah. I do want to get a quick shout out to the Fontes and Pack that are watching right now. They are some of our great followers who are excited to start fly fishing, and I love these dads because they get their kids outside. They have two young boys, and they are adorable. Love seeing them out there, so I'm glad that they are tuning in tonight for this. Um, Justin, share anything else that you might have that could be helpful, beneficial to anybody that's really thinking about fly fishing, fishing in general, getting outdoors, just whatever encouragement you
Yeah,
might want to give to somebody.
yeah, I'd say when I first got into fly fishing, obviously I was pretty young, so like I was integrated into that quote unquote community at an early age. But I think that looking at it from the outside, and as I moved to different cities, um, it's definitely been more difficult and more. I guess I've had some level of anxiety as I go out there and reach out to people that I don't know whether or not they'd be accepting of me as a person and my sexuality, even though I feel like that's just an aspect of who I am. I just say to put yourself out there, that so many of these communities are so welcoming that I think that the bro culture, the elitism, the snobbery that a lot of people view fly fishing and that fly fishing community has been somewhat disrupted. There's been a ton of groups. One of my favorite, Confluence Collective, they just did a fly fishing noob tying night immediately before this, where they have an expert tire and then a noob tire sitting there tying side by side. And like that's the kind of community that I absolutely love seeing, where new people getting into it, regardless of their background. We just want more people in the sport. We want to be able to perpetuate it and make sure that it stays alive and that we'll be able to continue to get out there and either you catch and release, catch and keep, whether you're a bait fisherman or a fly fisherman, like I don't care. Like the thing that has bothered me so much is these dividing lines that people draw between bait fishing, fly fishing, catch and keep, catch and release. I mean, we're all in it together. We're all
Yeah.
there for a common purpose to enjoy the outdoors, to conserve the natural resources that we have. And whether or not that individual population of fish could support keeping or catch and release, I mean, that's something we approach on a item by item basis. And to drill a person on Facebook or Instagram for keeping a fish, like it breaks my heart because I just see another person getting pulled away from our community as opposed to being welcomed in and trying to show them quote unquote the light of conservation.
I couldn't agree with you anymore on that. And I think like, as somebody, that is gay and part of the LGBTQ community, you know, we know what it's like to be torn away and to be judged and made fun of and criticized, and the list goes on and on. And so when it comes to the outdoors, why do we do that to other people? It's a place that we need to be welcoming. And if we don't understand something, why somebody might like this activity or do what they do, talk with them, like have a reasonable conversation. And it's okay if you walk away where you both agree to disagree, but at least try to understand their point of view rather than just slamming them on their Instagram photo or whatever it is.
Yep. And I mean, so much of our community in the fly fishing community sits there and rakes all the bait fishermen over the coals because, I mean, on average, trout and fish do take bait deeper than a fly, and so you'll have more mortality and things like that. But as long as you're keeping within the limits and keeping within the state regulations, I'm not the person to judge you, and you're just as much an outdoorsman and welcome in this community as I am. So,
Absolutely. Roger LaPlante says hi, so we want to give a shout out to Roger who's watching in Spokane. So that's awesome. Glad that you're tuning in. Um, we know that we're in quarantine right now. A lot of us are. I know where you're at, you're able to get out some, which is awesome. Uh, Once this totally lifts, do you have any big trips or adventures, fishing trips that's planned?
no big fishing trips planned right now. A friend and I have been talking about going down to Louisiana and fishing for redfish as soon as this is all through, but Louisiana is one of the hot spots, or New Orleans. So we've been kind of avoiding that. I've had a few plans canceled. But I've been fortunate in that since I live in Denver, I can definitely get out and about easy. There's a ton of lakes locally that all have planted trout, that have warm water species, and different things that I can pursue within a 10-minute drive of my place. So I've been fortunate and able to sticking to the quarantine for the most part, wearing my mask, socially distancing, and still getting out there. And I've felt like something that's kind of been adapted more or less is that I felt much more comfortable keeping stock trout and keeping these warm water species and then bringing them home and trying different recipes and things like that, which has been absolutely awesome and like kept some sanity. And then got a garden started in my condo and little things like that um, have gone a long way, I'd say.
That's awesome. We would love to show your Instagram so people can follow you on Instagram. I'm sure I'm putting you on the spot with this, but I'm sure if anybody has questions about fly fishing, you're cool with them sending you a DM and um, connecting with you about that because I think you would be a great resource. And I know that you educate other people already. So love for people to be
Absolutely.
able to connect you that way. We know that you are involved with the Wild Gathering and would love for you to share just a little bit about that.
Sure. So that's a nonprofit organization. As Justin mentioned, I am an attorney by day, and I feel like I need to come up with something that'll make me feel a bit better about myself rather than just lining the pockets of corporate organizations and things like that. So I volunteer as an executive director of an organization that a good friend, Monty Putelis, helped start. He's the CEO of an organization or a company called Hunt to Eat that I'm also an ambassador for, which is absolutely awesome and accepting. But this nonprofit really focuses on trying to bring together and unite the different recreational user groups, outdoor recreational user groups, around a common goal of conservation, community, and diversity. One of the things that I feel like has really been more or less damaging the outdoor recreation community has been the lack of diversity and an attention to, I'd say, more attracting white males and I'd say females as well, but trying to diversify that, try to bring new people in, and then also just trying to more or less coordinate efforts around conservation, where myself as a hunter, angler, and more or less consumptive user of our outdoors feel so separated from those people that are hiking or mountain biking or climbing and doing different things that may not directly take away from our resources, but are still directly impacting our resources and rely upon them. And bringing us all together around the table and trying to coordinate our efforts around conservation, so we can actually make a real effect, both within the legislature and in policy moving forward.
That's amazing. I think that sounds like an awesome organization that really excited for what you're doing. Um, we're going to throw up also your website to the Wild
Oh yeah.
Gathering, and we will post that and any other links that you've given us on the description of this YouTube video so that people can have access to them as well. I think that we do have a couple questions. Do we? Oh, okay. We don't have questions then. We just want to thank you so much, Justin, for your time. I think that you've shared a lot of great information. Obviously, fly fishing is a very complicated thing that can take a long time to learn, but I know that you've inspired me. I think that you've inspired others of our viewers to get involved, give it a try, and have some fun with it. So, thank you so much for coming and joining us with this. We appreciate it, and we wish you best fishing in the near future. So, have a great evening, okay?
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was great.
Absolutely. So we just want to take a moment again. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We know that there are other things you probably could be doing, but in quarantine, hey, why not watch one of our videos? So we're glad that you joined us tonight. We would love for you to subscribe below. We're trying to build this account and let everybody um, stay connected to us in multiple fashions, and so that is a great way to be able to just like this video, subscribe to it, stay connected to what we are doing here. Also, we are looking for other people like Justin, that you have something that you really love doing in the outdoors, that you feel like you could bring education to the LGBTQ plus community on, to either do a written blog or a live video, or there's other ways that you could be getting involved. If you would like to do that, drop us an email at info@lgbtoutdoors.com, or you can also DM us on our Instagram account as well. We would love to be able to talk to you about that and see if we could work together and be able to be a resource for our community. Thank you so much again for tuning in tonight. Wherever you're at in the world, we hope that you are safe and doing well. Remember to be kind to one another. Remember to be true to who you are. And we look forward to seeing you in the next LGBT Outdoors live video. Thank you.